Yeah.
Yes, and the integration is so powerful that there's, I always thought there was only room for spirituality. And then I realized no, like psychology does play a part of the mind-body connection, our thoughts, how the body holds on to the pain, to the memories, to the traumas. We know like 7 generations of memories are stored in our body. So if we can create space for that, I like to visualize the body as a vessel, our whole experience as a vessel for everything to arise and to subside, to have a clear vessel. The ultimate goal is that clear vessel where we're not clogging anything, we're not forcefully suppressing anything
Yes.
and just clearing it. That becomes the ultimate goal.
Peace and riches blessings. I am Michael B. Beckwith, the host of Take Back Your Mind. Peace and blessings, everyone. I am Michael B. Beckwith, the founder of the Agape International Spiritual Center and your host for Take Back Your Mind podcast, of which so many of you are now tuning in, distributing it, telling your friends. We're getting so much positive feedback. This is our second season. And so thank you so much for your participation, your subscription, your likes, and your sharing. I get to every week have conversations with individuals that in their own way have opened up hearts, including their own, taken back their own mind, and are becoming great contributors to the evolution of consciousness on this planet. Today, I have Tannaz Hosseinpour with me. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time zone you might be in.
Good evening, Michael. It's such an honor to be here. Thank you.
And thank you for being here. I'm going to tell individuals about you so they know who you are, and then we'll have a wonderful conversation. See, she's a relationship coach, registered psychotherapist, podcast host, and an author. She integrates psychology and spirituality to help individuals cultivate safe and healthy relationships with themselves, and often through nervous system regulation, which I love, inner child and parts work, and enhancing relational skills. She's also the host of Minutes on Growth podcast, where she interviews leading authors and thought leaders on conscious entrepreneurship, spirituality, and relationships. Tanaz, give me your backstory, your path of inspiration that led you to the work you do. Everybody's got a backstory. Every superhero, every villain, they, there's a backstory to what has emerged in their life. What is yours?
Well, I think it's the classic tale of man plans and God laughs for me.
Yes.
Definitely not what I was intended to do. I was conditioned to be in the legal realm. I'm
Mm.
originally Persian, so
Mhm.
lawyer, doctor, or engineer were the
Those are
options.
the three things, the three
Yes.
options for the Persian community.
And I was great at public speaking, so my parents assumed law, and that was the path. The path kind of took a turn, and you were one of the reasons.
Oh no. Oh no.
I was 16. My mom gave me the book, The Secret. I was
Oh.
so intrigued by it. I told my English teacher, we have to listen to this and watch this in class. And I was so mesmerized by it, but it didn't really change the trajectory of my life. It changed the timing of the trajectory of my life.
Uh-huh.
And kind of did my undergrad in political science, and I wanted an easy A. So I was like, let me take a course in religion. And that opened a whole new pathway because I fell in love. I was like, oh my God, I love this. I love learning about different religions. They all pretty much say the same thing. It felt so safe to me. It felt like home. But the plan was still there. I was still supposed to go into law. So I did my master's degree in dispute resolution law. And I'm like, no, I can't do this. It feels so misaligned.
Mm.
And I was 24 by then. So it was like around 6, 7 years of studying these different spiritual concepts. So I knew that the answer would come to me if I was willing to sit in the discomfort of not knowing.
Yes.
And I was a control freak. So that was really
That's
hard for
difficult for
me.
you then.
It was so hard. I'm not going to lie. I was a perfectionist, control freak, but I trusted that the answer would come if I was, willing to do the work. And so universe speaks to us through people. People came up to me. This is 2017, and they're like, you should start a podcast. I'm like, what is a podcast? I didn't even know what it was. And they're like, you should be a coach. And I'm like, what is a coach? But I trusted that people would speak, like the universe would speak to me through people. And
Mhm.
I took action on that. And it kind of just, it chose me way before I chose it. And I just trusted the journey and I showed up and I allowed myself to figure it out day by day and went down the coaching path. I was mostly on the reactive side of relationships, dispute resolution. So I was helping like government entities, companies, and people solve their relational problems. And there was this big question mark of how do we get here? How do we go
Mhm.
from, yay, let's be friends to I hate you, or, I trust you to now I never want to see you again. And I wanted to be on the proactive side. So that's the journey. And I eventually went back to school for my third postgraduate degree in counseling psychotherapy to kind of get more tools to help people really enhance their relationships with themselves and with others
What are the first 2 postgraduate degrees?
in
One was
law and in management.
Oh, okay, very
Yeah,
good. So you didn't become an attorney, but you had the skills to be one if you wanted to,
if I
if you'd
wanted to.
gone to law school. But, you fell in love with this, spiritual, uh, craziness
Hmm.
that it can appear to be when you're in a whole 'nother paradigm, and then that led you ultimately to, relationships and things of
Hmm.
that particular nature. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it shared its root, but your soul knew what
Hmm.
your mind didn't know at the time. Now
Exactly.
you bridge psychology and spirituality in a very integrated way.
Hmm.
That synthesis has become very central to your work.
Yeah.
It's tell me about the unfoldment of that and how you work with that.
Hmm. When I'm talking about spirituality, I'm talking about the spirit, the soul component. We've heard about the mind body connection. I kind of want to expand that to say it's the mind body soul connection
Yes.
and kind of honoring a space where all three can coexist. And it's in the here and now, it's in the present moment where all three can coexist. And so for me, it was all that spiritual background really helps me recognize that, okay, there is a soul and we're not human beings on a spiritual journey. We're spiritual beings on a human journey. I understood that component. But for me, the missing part was when my grandfather passed away and my back broke. I couldn't get back up. The
Your
doctors, I was
your
rushed to the
physical
MRI.
back your
Yeah,
physical
my
back?
physical back broke. Like I bent down to pick up a bottle of water and I couldn't get back up. So rushed to the hospital, MRIs, and the doctors are like, you are never going to lift another pen in your life.
Mm.
I was
A
like, why? Like,
a
so
pen?
odd. Yeah. They're like, that's it. You're like, you're done. And for 6 months, I was bedridden with that thought until, again, the universe spoke to me through
Mm.
someone who suggested I meet with a yogi. And he just started to touch on certain trigger points. And I used to scream. And he's like, I'm like touching you so gently, but it was all that stored, repressed, suppressed emotions around my grandfather's death. And
Mm.
that made me realize, the body component, the mind component, and the somatic element of really the body does hold score. So integrating all of that became my holistic integrative approach to healing because we can't negate one over the other. It's like spiritual bypassing if we overlook the mind and the body.
Absolutely. You were your own experiment.
Yes.
You saw the compression and the depression of these emotions that had to explode, and they explode in physical pain and inability to walk.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
so you healed yourself through a kind of a spiritual self-analysis.
Hmm.
Uh-huh. And
Yeah.
then you were able to see the different components of your emotional body that were not being expressed or healed or transmuted. and you began
Mhm.
to do that. So you bypassed what the doctor told you. He said you never lift a
Exactly.
pin again. So you did have a spiritual bypass.
Yeah.
You bypassed a lie. You bypassed a lie to get to the truth of your being.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Going back to wholeness. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think this is very important because we don't put down the medical system in any way, shape, or
Mm-mm.
form, but so many people see MD as minor deity. And if they
Mhm.
say something, they actually can become locked into that particular belief in that
Mhm.
particular system, which is designed to help us as best as it can. But in your case, and in many people's cases, you have to kind of transcend that
Mhm.
in order to like be healed, to come back to your intrinsic wholeness. So you're a living example that if you
Yeah.
do this inner work, great changes can take place.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and the integration is so powerful that there's I always thought there was only room for spirituality, and then I realized, no, like, psychology does play a part of the mind-body connection, our thoughts, how the body holds on to the pain, to the memories, to the trauma. As we know, like, 7 generations of memories are stored in our body. So if we can create space for that, I like to visualize the body as a vessel, our whole experience as a vessel for everything to arise and to subside, to have a clear vessel. The ultimate goal is that clear vessel where we're not clogging anything, we're not forcefully suppressing anything
Yes.
and just clearing it. That becomes the ultimate goal.
Right. You're very high in talking about community and
Mhm.
feeling.
Mhm.
And I think it's very important these days when people are feeling kind of disconnected.
Mhm.
It's a part of what you bring to the humanity is your emphasis on community and deep feeling. Unpack that for a moment.
Yeah. So, we're traditionally tribal people. We
Mm,
thrive in
mm,
supportive communities. We are meant to be in tribes for safety, for survival. But especially after COVID, I mean, COVID was a period where being around people was literally not safe. It was dangerous. So it sent a signal to the nervous system of if you want to stay
mm.
alive, you have to be away from community. And so that memory is now stored in our bodies. And we really picked up a lot of different habits during COVID, just like being connected on social media. And now technology is giving us this illusion of connectivity, but we've lost the ability to sit in the same room and to feel each other and to feel seen, feel each other's energy and to feel seen and heard by one another. So my whole concept is, our core belief, our core desire is to belong, to
Mhm,
feel like our presence matters, to feel
mhm.
that there is value to our being. And community helps us tap into that sense of belongingness, which then in itself allows us to return to our wholeness and to our true sense of self worth, not performative self worth based on appearances, accomplishments, or other people's perception of us, but our
Right.
true wholeness.
Absolutely. I've taught over the years that authentic community and authentic spiritual community grants you immunity from the lower
Mhm.
frequencies of life. So if
Yes.
you're in real community of open-hearted, high-minded individuals, it's a buoyant energy
Mhm.
that when you have a spiritual insight, it'll help you sustain it
Mhm.
when you go back out into the so-called regular world. So
Mhm.
yeah, I'm in agreement. Community is very important, and here at Agape, I mean, people are coming back in a very powerful way once they realize that we were back open.
Yeah.
They're like they just love being together now, and
Yeah.
it's a beautiful thing. But I agree, and oftentimes people don't have any community other than Facebook friends or
Yeah.
something like that. And as you say, that's kind of a pseudo
Mhm.
connection. It's not as real as having a real friend. I'll joke with people sometimes. They'll say, "This is my friend so and so." I said, "Oh, is that a real friend or a Facebook friend?" Have you ever had lunch with them? Have you ever hugged them? Have you ever talked to them? Have you ever been in the same room with them?
Mhm.
And I don't put down the connection that we have. And you and I are speaking now
Yeah.
on this wonderful technology that's dwarfing time and space. But coming together in person is
Mhm.
very powerful.
It is so powerful, and it's so deeply healing to know that there is someone out there who sees me and understands me and is willing to hear me, and I'm in their physical presence. It's very healing.
Right, the bioenergetic field or auric
Yes.
field, they touch,
Mhm.
and it's full of energy, and sometimes you can be in the same room and not even touch each other, but
Yes.
that feeling of love, a connection and peace and joy is harmonizing to all
Mhm.
the beings. It's very, very sweet.
Yeah. It
Yeah,
hugs you. It hugs your soul.
right, right. Now, you believe in micro practices during the day.
Mhm.
I think it's very important as well. But talk to us about what a micro practice is and give us some examples.
Yeah. So, you know, a lot of people talk about a wonderful morning ritual that's like an hour long or a nighttime ritual that's an hour long. And I love that. If you can sit in that stillness for that long, that is amazing if you have the time, the capacity. But what I realized, especially after COVID, is we were in a fear state for so long. To feel
Mm,
safe in stillness is still unfamiliar for a lot of us. And
mm,
so we don't want to overwhelm the nervous system with too big of a change at first. If we
mhm,
can start with 1 minute micro practice, so a 1 minute check in with ourselves, with our soul, with our body. How are you feeling right now? What am I feeling? What emotions are knocking on my door? And you can do that through movement. So a minute stretch, a minute breath. I've done a lot of research on 13th century Persian poet Rumi, and he's
mm,
influenced a lot of my thinking. And him and Shams of Tabrizi would say, the breath is really the gateway to the divine. So if we can use the breath to regulate our nervous system through balanced breathing, 4 second inhale, 4 second exhale, or through prolonged breathing, 4 second inhale, 8 second exhale, double the exhale on the inhale, we can allow ourselves the space and the time and the grace to regulate, to come back to baseline, to ground ourselves multiple times throughout the day instead of focusing solely during the beginning or the end. And that's great too. Again, we're
mhm.
just building capacity for it. That 1 minute turns into two, into three, and we enhance our ability to sit in that stillness, but we can start very small.
Absolutely, and that one breath you gave, which I have people practice, the 4 in, 8 out, that
Mhm.
activates the vagus nerve.
Yes.
This
Yeah.
when you it seems counterintuitive to breathe out more than you're breathing in,
Mhm.
but as you do that, the vagus nerve is activated and the parasympathetic system comes online. It's a wonderful practice, and it's a wonderful micro practice for people to do.
Right? It's fast, it's cheap, it's
It's
accessible.
inexpensive, it's
Yeah.
free.
It's free and it's accessible at any given time. You can do it even when you're sitting in a boardroom and you're feeling really tense or in an exam or when you're in any given moment, when you're feeling dysregulated, the breath really is one of the best tools for us to ground ourselves and to as you mentioned, the vagus nerve, the longest cranial nerve from our heads to our large intestine is our ability to activate the parasympathetic, the rest and digest. So,
Mhm.
understanding the science of that, the psychology of the body really helps us
Yeah,
navigate life with a little bit more grace.
right. So when it's regulated, speak to our capacity now to
Mhm.
love, to forgive, stay open in challenging moment. It does that as well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Exactly. When we're in a regulated state, we are feeling safe. Everything comes back to bodily safety.
Ah,
How safe do we feel with people, with a thought, with an emotion? So when we're regulated and I'm starting to feel safe, this moment, I can be in the here and now.
mhm.
That vessel clears up. Light can flow through that vessel. I can get energy from the floor that I'm standing on, and I can bring energy out into the earth. I can become again a vessel from the earth to humans, a medium of connection. And in that space, I go back to my truth, to my wholeness, which is love. And
Yes,
in that love is a very unifying energy force. It's a very collective healing force.
yes. You have a powerful teaching about, the fact that we can't think our way out of
Mhm.
negativity. We have to come back to the body. What does that mean?
Yeah. When we're stressed, when we're triggered, when we are dysregulated, our prefrontal cortex, which is the front of our brain that's responsible for rational thinking, problem solving, it goes offline. And the amygdala, which is the fear centered, comes online. So even if I wanted to think my way out of it, I couldn't. And so it's like you
There's no
can't,
blood flow there.
there isn't. So don't bother and just pause. If we can allow ourselves to pause, to take a step back, again, to engage in the breath, to come into the body. What emotion is knocking on my door? Again, Rumi has a beautiful poem, The Guest House. Every emotion is here with a message. There is
Mhm,
no good or bad emotions. They're here simply to bring awareness to the surface,
mhm,
to to let us understand. It's like the soul communicating with us. And
mhm,
so if we can create space, if we can go into the body and allow this emotion to arise and to subside, to feel it, that's how we can move forward. Because again, and even science shows us, for the prefrontal cortex to come back online, it takes a minimum of 20 minutes. So if in
mhm,
those 20 minutes we can take a step back, go into the body, ground ourselves, engage in these micro practices, we can navigate these challenges with a little bit more grace.
mhm. I like something else that we agree with is that when these emotions come up, you talk about releasing the labels of the emotions.
Mhm.
That's very important. Speak to the importance of that. That's
Yeah. I, I was raised with good and bad emotions. And as a
Mhm,
result of bad, if you label emotion as bad, when the emotion knocks on your door, there's a sense of maybe guilt or shame that I'm experiencing this. So now, for example, I grew up thinking anger was a bad emotion. Anger
mhm.
shows up, which is the primary emotion. Now I start to judge myself for feeling angry, which is a secondary emotion. Now there's like so much internal chaos.
You get a cascade of
Yeah.
of shame and blame.
Right. But if I can pause and say, okay, anger, what is your message for me? Okay, maybe someone violated my boundaries. Maybe there's injustice happening and I need to speak up. Or one
Mhm,
of my favorites is jealousy because jealousy gets such a bad rep, but I think it's such a powerful, it has such a powerful message for us. It's either like, hey, this is misalignment of something in our life doesn't feel aligned, or you're seldom jealous of something you don't want. So that
mhm,
itself is a clue of, my soul
mhm.
is craving that experience. Let's move
Exactly,
in that direction.
exactly.
Right.
I often say that, jealousy affirms a quality,
Mhm.
envy denies a quality.
Mhm.
Jealousy, the person wants something. I want
Mhm.
what that person has. I want that kind of car. I want whatever. Envy says, I don't want them to have it.
Mhm.
I don't want them to be successful. So envy is like jealousy on steroids, but jealousy is affirming a quality. Like you say, if you tune into what you're jealous about and become curious enough,
Mhm.
you can discover the quality you really want. You don't want what that person has. You want
Mhm.
the quality in you that's already within you
Yes.
that you're seeing in that person, then you can work yourself back to your own wholeness. So I agree. And then this whole thing about not labeling. I invite people sometimes when emotions come up, whatever they are, don't label it. Just like I say the
Mhm.
same thing about diseases. The doctors do what they do, but
Mhm.
don't pick up a label. Just whatever the symptom is or whatever the emotion is, just embrace it,
Mhm.
observe it, see what it has for you, and let it change. But once you put a label on something, it becomes very difficult to transmute it or to get rid of it. So I know
Yeah.
it's difficult for people not to do that because we live in a label society.
Mhm.
So it's inner work to not
It really
label,
is.
and not judge yourself for whatever the label is that's being put upon you. You talk about allowing emotional flow.
Mhm.
The emotional flow is open in that what appears to be a negative emotion can open up just as many channels as to what appears to be a so-called positive emotion.
100%. It's
Mhm.
it's actually those stronger emotions that have so much bigger messages for us. And so when we when we label emotion or when we become so engulfed with the emotion, it's like we're clogging the vessel and
Mm,
now light can't flow through it. The universe can't speak to us through it. Inspiration, creativity, we're blocking all of that. It's like we're cluttering the body by holding on to something instead of allowing ourselves to really feel it. And I want to also say, I'm not going to take away from the privilege we have when we have that space and time to process emotions. And that's again where community comes in. Sometimes we need someone to help us, to hold our hand, to allow us to process through it and to navigate it. So our environment plays a part in it too. So I'm not going to say that these things don't matter. They do matter.
right, of
But
course.
if we are also able to go within and say, okay, I am going to allow myself to feel whatever this is. So if I need to cry it out, let me cry it out. If I need to shake it off, let me shake it off. Let me move through the emotion with an emotion, energy in motion, and
Mhm.
allow it to leave my body the same way it entered. And to allow it, as you said, to kind of transmute me and to change me as well, like to take me to an elevated state.
So if someone has been taught to or they just picked up suppressing their emotions,
Mhm.
pushing them away, what is the first step for them to healthily begin to allow the emotions to flow?
Mm. Two things. One, I would say find a way that resonates with you. I had a client who loved role playing, and that's what we did. We imagined we were at a dinner table and all these different emotions would come. And I would say, hey, like, where is anger sitting? Close to you or at the end of the table? And we would put all these emotions, a different seating chart for them. And then she would go and she would talk to them and see what she had to say. But it felt fun to her because we were role playing and she loved drama. So finding a way that resonates with you, but also practicing it with safe people. And you don't need to practice a challenging emotion with someone. You can practice with an easier emotion. Like if I'm feeling joy, can I share that joy with someone else? And again, building the capacity to feel different feelings in different settings
Mhm.
and slowly, again, going back to the nervous system, slowly building safety around some of these unfamiliar emotions.
That's beautiful. Now let's shift to relationships for
Mm,
a moment, because you talk about the myths about getting your needs met in a
mm.
relationship, and how do these that kind of belief could possibly keep us disconnected. How does that work?
Yes, Disney played a big part in this.
Di
Uh,
Disney.
Disney movies, Hallmark movies of
The
they
romantic
should just
comedies that
yes. They should just know. And, no one is a mind reader. We
this is
would
funny.
love it if we could be, but we're not.
Uh-huh.
And we can't read minds, and we are our own best advocates. We need to become skilled at advocating for ourselves and speaking our truth. Now, here's where relationship skills come into play because we weren't taught how to talk about our needs. We weren't even taught how to communicate, how to fight fair. I mean, I wasn't taught them in school. I didn't see it modeled in my family of origin. So it was when I was speaking my needs, I was doing it in a very critical way. You are not doing this. You are this very you focused. And it wasn't until I started to go through all these different trainings of no, it's my experience. Hey, when this happens, I feel this way. And Dr. John Gottman, the leading institute on relationships, shares a lot about this on give your partner a roadmap, set them up for success. Hey, say, hey, this is how I would like to be loved. Give them the tools they need to succeed in this relationship instead of testing them. And if you're testing them, that has a lot to do with childhood patterns, with what we've seen. And that again is the integration of psychology, our maladaptive patterns, the psychodynamic, the cognitive, the belief systems we have, and the somatic of how the body is responding. But ultimately, people aren't mind readers. And how can we learn to advocate for ourselves in a way that's not critical, which then minimizes the the chances of the other person getting defensive when
Right,
when we bring
right,
up our need.
right. So you're basically saying that in the dynamic you've just described, there's somebody that's always the bad person, somebody's
Mhm,
always in trouble because they're not meeting the need of someone else, and maybe they don't have the skill at
mhm.
that time. They're still developing because we all are developing beings.
Yeah,
Maybe they don't have the skill, or maybe they don't know. They have no idea. They're living their life. They're loving the way they
exactly.
love. They're giving the way they give. They're sharing the way they give. They have no idea that the other person is inviting them to give in another way, which may or may not be
Exactly.
coherent with that individual, you know?
Right.
And so I like this, give that person a roadmap. This is what I like,
Yeah.
and the person can either grow in that area or realize, oh, I
Mhm.
didn't know that. Sure, that's easy to do. Or it's not really my thing, we
Right.
should just be friends or something.
Exactly, but better to know sooner rather
Yeah,
than later, and
right.
you're not abandoning yourself in that relationship. There's a lot of self-abandonment that happens as a
Mhm.
result of some of these myths that we grew up with of, they should just know, and, if he wanted to, he would. I hear this
Yeah, that's
often
that's
as well.
nonsensical.
And I'm like, no, like, does he even know it? Does he even know that you need it? And does he know how to do it? Because
Right,
again, we weren't taught these things in school. So
right.
we're just learning. We're just now in the day and age of content creation, and all of these like psychology terms are gaining popularity, which is such a blessing of
Mhm,
technology because we're
mhm.
learning at a faster pace. But we really need to give ourselves grace and time and the skills we need to develop healthy relationships. Healthy relationships require us mastering certain relational skills that we might not even know we're missing.
Right. It brings us back to us being friends with each other.
Mhm.
So instead of speaking with an enemy, you know what I mean, that you're trying to subdue or seeking to manipulate or
Mhm.
coerce or intimidate or provoke or seduce, all of those, you're basically having a conversation with your friend that you love.
I
And
love that you brought that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And saying, I really love it when you do this.
Mhm.
But when you ignore this or when you don't do this, it feels like you're not paying attention or whatever. But it takes it out of good and bad. Again, going back to even the emotions. So
Mhm.
it's not good or bad. This is everyone grows up in a different household, different environment. And so, and people have different cultures.
Mhm.
There are certain cultures that we would, in one culture, we would say, oh, this is really a good thing. Another culture would say, that's terrible, you know? And that culture can be in the same United States, but in different parts of the states, So
Exactly.
there's a whole lot that we have to deal with to create intimacy so that we appreciate and love each other for who we are, but at the same time, as you're talking about, have the depth of communication
Mhm.
that we don't do self-abandonment. And I want you to break down self-abandonment a little bit. We're not doing self-abandonment, nor are we creating bad people out there. Oh, they won't do this and they don't do that. It's relationships are interesting because the first one obviously is with ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I just kind of to add what you said of, I see this often because I work a lot with couples and they start to lawyer up and it's like we're in court and they're pulling out receipts. And I'm like, wait, hold on. You're not on opposite teams. You're on the
On the
same
same team,
team.
yes.
It's you two versus the problem. It's not you versus them. And I heard this many
I
years
like
ago.
this one. I want you to
Yeah.
repeat this because it's not you 2 versus each other. It's you
Mhm.
together, how to deal with this, what is looking like a problem or a challenge.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Yes,
that's a
it's
good
you
reframe.
versus the problem because
Yeah,
sometimes we are starting to attack the person and it's not the person's the problem. Keep the problem.
right.
And this is something I heard many years ago from Deepak Chopra. And it was if, you know, for you to be, we want the other person to be wrong. And so, do you really want to be in a relationship where you're right and someone else has to be wrong for you to be right? Wouldn't you rather both be on the same right team?
Right, right.
And because at that point, there's if I'm looking down on you, there's disrespect. And so
Mhm.
we really want to always be in that level of where we're speaking to each other from a respectful place, from a place of equality. Equality in a sense of my soul is neither superior or inferior to yours, and vice versa.
Mhm. Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so I see the soul within you. I see the humanity in the relationship. And how can we honor that and keep that sacred through, again, through growing together and learning these skills? And it takes practice.
Yes,
You know,
practice. Mhm.
over and over again,
Yeah.
I'm still learning all of these on a daily basis because the brain keeps going back to the way it was. And I have to pull it back and say, come back here. Let's learn this new skill again to build that new neural pathway. So
Right,
it
right.
takes practice.
I like that. So, because you don't wanna be in a relationship where you being right and the other person wrong makes you happy.
Right.
That's I used to say 2 wrongs don't make a right,
Yeah.
but 2 rights don't make a right.
Mhm.
There's there's that which is right, that which is real. We're both trying to get to that which is real,
Mhm.
not just my version of right and that person's of right, because 2 rights don't make a right. It's
Mhm.
actually what's real. What are we trying to get to here?
Mhm.
And we're both trying to get there.
Yeah.
And yeah, so this is these are great skills that you're teaching people. I want you to define abandoning yourself, and then I want you to
Mhm.
define fighting fair. What does that mean? What does it
Mhm.
actually mean to fight fair? And in order to build intimacy.
Yeah. So abandoning self is abandoning our truth and abandoning our wholeness.
Mhm.
When we start to see ourself as broken,
Mm,
we start to operate from a place of fear, from a place of lack. And for me, self abandoning means I'm abandoning my desires, my truth, my passions, my talents, my gifts to
mm,
fit in a space that no longer fits. My dad gave this really good example when I was a kid. He said, you have your favorite pair of shoes and you're going to grow out of them. Yes, you can force yourself to still wear those shoes, but you're going to end up getting blisters. And do
mhm,
you really want to do that to yourself? You can still love it from afar and
mhm,
cherish it, but move on from it. So self abandonment is trying to fit into that pair of shoes that's going to give you blisters when you should just honor it and say, okay, this space is not a space where I am seen as a whole. This is a space where I am seen as broken. And so moving towards wholeness and choosing yourself and choosing spaces that honor your wholeness and honor your truth.
I see. Yes, and a lot of people um, unconsciously move towards self abandonment to
Yeah.
fit in rather than staying authentic to themselves. They
Mhm.
rather fit in for a false comfort zone
Mhm.
rather than to take the challenge to grow and to stabilize into why they're really here and the gifts they are to share and what they are to contribute. They purpose unconsciously stay small. Yeah.
It makes sense. We
Yeah.
always choose familiar chaos over unfamiliar peace. It's just the
Right.
way our brain is designed for survival. But
Right.
if we're willing, again, to sit in that discomfort and to allow ourselves to kind of slowly, and this is why I always focus on micro practice, everything in
Hmm.
small doses, to
Hmm.
slowly step outside and to enhance the elasticity of that comfort zone, a lot
Hmm.
of magic can happen because our soul is the seat of wisdom. It's always, always
Oh,
talking to us.
absolutely. Absolutely. Now, what does fighting fair mean?
Oh, I love fighting fair. Fighting fair is great because some conflict has such a bad rep. People are scared of it, but it's actually not a good sign when couples tell me we never fight because then it means again you're abandoning parts of yourself to silence to keep the status quo. Conflict
Hmm.
is great if we know how to fight and if we
Hmm.
can do it in a respectful way. Fighting fair means I am able to see the soul and the humanity of you, so I'm going to respect you. Our conversations are going to be respectful. And when we enter into a relationship, we all kind of bring a luggage with us filled with our triggers and our past wounds and all our pains. And at the safer we feel in the relationship, we'll open that luggage and we'll bring something out and we will share it with our partner. Now
Hmm.
here it's a skill to be able to hold that, to honor that, and to not use it against the other person when you're fighting. Don't bring up that little thing that they showed you because it's going to go back in the suitcase and they're going to lock it up and they're never going to show it to you again. And there goes vulnerability and safety from the relationship. So, fighting fair is really honoring that which I've brought to you, that sacred sharing that I've brought to you,
Mhm,
and being sensitive with it, being mindful with it,
mhm,
and again, speaking in a way that's non critical so that
mhm.
the other person doesn't get defensive, that's not contemptful, whether
Right,
verbal contempt or nonverbal. And
right.
again, I'm willing to lean in to fix the problem with you, to address the problem with you. I'm not running away. So, fighting fair is also, I'm willing to work on this. Side note, when we're both in a regulated state, not when we're both
Yes.
dysregulated.
Yes, yes,
That's
yes.
really important. But
'Cause
that's, yeah.
sometimes, people will be in an unregulated state, and they'll start bringing things up that happened years ago,
Oh, yeah.
throw it into the fight. I mean, John Gray talked about the I think it was John Gray that talked about the fact that, like, a woman's brain is different from a man's brain,
Mhm.
and that in an unregulated state, they may bring up, I'm sure men do the same thing,
Mhm.
something that happened 6 months ago or 6 years ago, it's already been resolved, but they'll bring it into the present
Mhm.
and use it as a point for an argument.
Yeah.
It was already handled, but here it
Mhm.
is in this, you know, and so when we get unregulated, we don't fight fair. We'll bring in all kinds of stuff that has nothing to do with this moment, just like
Exactly.
to prove a point or something to that effect.
Exactly. It's the lawyering up again as if we're in
Yeah,
court and we're
yeah,
just trying to win. And I get it. Like we're trying to win because we want to feel safe.
yeah.
And again, so many wounds
That's
could
very
be.
important
Yeah.
because when people do that, they don't know they're actually afraid.
Yes.
And then that's why they're provoking or intimidating or whatever the word is at that time, because they're actually scared.
Mhm.
But they're not gonna get the result with that. They're gonna actually close the other person off.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and then both people have self-abandon.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. And the relationship loses, right?
right.
It's a lose-lose situation at the end.
Mhm. Absolutely. This is good. Now, you believe that life is happening for us.
Mhm.
That's like a common thread.
Mhm.
People who have had who have come into spirituality eventually bump into that awareness that life is really happening for us. It's not against us.
No.
And with that as a kind of a baseline, um, more love flows, more a sense of safety, a
Mhm.
greater sense of conversation. But if you think life is out to get
Mhm.
you live in a different world.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
I like that. I like that about you. Anything come up when I bring that up? Anything?
You come up. You're the one who taught me that many,
Oh,
many, many years ago. It was I love it. It was one of your talks, and it was, "Life is not happening to you, it's happening for you, through you, and as you."
right.
And that stuck with me. That this is why this interview is such a full circle moment for me, because it's
Wow.
like, this is the whole premise of my thinking was influenced by that, that one paragraph that you shared.
Wow.
And it really changed the way I see myself as, you know, now I wake up every morning and I tell the universe, tell me where to go, what to say, who to say it to. Use me
Right.
as your vessel.
Use me. That's
Yeah.
the word.
Mhm.
Oh, wow, that's funny. It's a full circle moment. Yeah, I remember years ago, I would always begin with "Life is good," like that, and people would
Mhm.
say, "How can you say life is good? Look at the headlines. Look at what's going on around the world. Look at the wars and the killings and the stealings and nuclear proliferation," and I say, "No, no. Life itself is good.
Mhm.
Human beings' experience of life,
Yes.
their interpretation of life, their reaction to events, that's a mixed bag."
Mhm.
But life at its core is magnificent. It's untouched by human perception, human opinions, human experience. Life is untouched by that. And
Yeah.
we're an emanation of that life. And we're trying to come into alignment with life. And I used to say that and people would get mad. Now, there's very few people that get mad at me anymore. They're like, you're right. Life is magnificent. It's beautiful. I want to be in alignment with it, so
Mhm.
that my experience of it is more expansive and less limiting. Yeah.
Amen. I wanna
I could
flow with it.
Yeah, I can see the evolution of consciousness from, I mean, Agape is 39 years young now. just
Mhm.
having an anniversary. And I remember the things that I was teaching, even back in the days of The Secret, and even before that, was looked upon as woo woo. Now
Mhm.
it's all science.
Yeah.
You know, we have a quantum field that, we're pure consciousness that feeds back to us. We have epigenetics, we have evolutionary biology, you have biofeedback. You can measure
Mhm.
the amplitude of your brain, amplitude of your thoughts emanating from you. But back in the day, it was all woo woo. Now
Yeah.
it's like, well, the scientists tell us there's a quantum mechanical field of quantum entanglement. And I said, oh, yeah, that's true. Different language,
Yeah. Different
saying the same,
language.
saying the same thing.
I
It's like,
love that.
yeah, I love it too. We've lived long enough
To see it.
to see a
Yeah.
real evolution, to see a real evolution.
Yeah. It
And
reminds yeah.
would you call yourself optimistic about the future of humanity, even though you turn on the news, if you do, and you'll see just um, the experience of the lowest common denominator of the human experience on the planet?
Mhm.
Do you still feel humanity is going to continue to evolve and become greater versions of itself?
Yeah, more than ever.
Mhm.
Because, it really reminds me of what Baba Ram Dass said, we're all walking each other home. And I think now we're finally allowing that to happen. Everything that I'm seeing, the manifestation that you just shared, I think is like the final step of it's all coming to the surface. It's like even with trauma work, we don't work with memories that haven't arisen to the surface yet. We trust
Mhm.
the body is smart enough to know when it's ready to handle it. So everything that's coming to the surface is finally saying, I'm ready to be seen. This fear, and for us to sit with this fear and to transmute it into love, this is the opportunity. I think now is the time that we're able to sit with all these big emotions and all this division with love and with unity and that one collective consciousness.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree. I was sharing recently that the race we're running is the human race, in which when we cross the line, it's not in competition, it's in communion.
Mhm.
And that what the race is actually about is a shared divinity.
Mhm.
And this is what we're all seeking to be about. You mentioned Baba Ram Dass. I did workshops with him, meaning we co-facilitated together. And I remember the first time I went to work with him, I was in the room waiting. He was going to come. We were going to do it together. And he had fallen in the shower, so he couldn't do it. I had to do it by myself. So that hurtful first time was like people travel all over the world to see Ram Dass. But after about 20 minutes, they got comfortable. They were okay. But there was one time we did it together, and he was sitting on one side of the room, and I was sitting on the other. We were teaching together, and he said something about, well, God did something, something, something. And I said, no, that's not true, Ram Dass. God didn't do that. And he said, yes, God. I said, God doesn't create hurricanes and stuff to get people. And he said, yes, God is everything. I said, yes, God is everything. And you could see that there was tension in the room because the teachers were like kind of disagreeing in love. And then I said, I said, everything is God, but
Mhm.
God's not intentionally creating a hurricane to teach somebody a lesson. And he said,
Mhm.
"Oh yeah, you're right. That's right, right, right." And we came to this really great, deeper understanding about the presence of God. And you can feel the people in the room go, "Whoo," like that. By you saying Baba Ram Dass, you just reminded me of that experience. We had some,
Thank you for sharing.
yeah, we had great moments in which he would stream into agape online
Mhm.
and teach and things. He was such a beautiful man. He was so wise, so deep, so surrendered. It was, yeah. Thank you for bringing that memory to me. He's a good guy. Yeah.
Thank you for
So
sharing.
listen, if someone is listening or watching now and they were to adopt one practice to regulate, what would that
Mm.
practice be?
I would say the breath.
Mm,
Just It's always with us, it's always accessible. So just allowing ourselves to take I actually have an alarm on my phone and it says emotional check and it goes on exactly at 8:45 p.m. every single night and my fiance says, "Time to check in with your emotions." He jokes about it, but it really is a great tool.
Does he do it with you?
No.
Not yet.
But he witnesses me without
Yeah.
judgment.
Right. So there's osmosis happening.
And just to sit for that minute and to just breathe through the emotion, check in with yourself. What am I feeling? Do I need to drink water? Sometimes one of my other favorite tools is cold therapy. I'll just stick my face in the freezer for a couple of breaths that again, it allows me to regulate the vagus nerve and to go into the parasympathetic. So, whether it's cold therapy, a glass of cold water, putting your face in the freezer, or a slow, deep breath, just giving yourself that 1 minute, scheduled 1 minute. And when you do
Mhm.
it at the same time every single day, it becomes a part of your body's natural rhythm and routine. That's it. Let's start there. Let's start simple.
Yeah, I love that. I'll have people sometimes do very similar things, like especially if they've been in stress or crisis or something. I'll have them set their alarm for every hour and then stop that hour and do the breath. Find one little thing to be grateful for,
Mhm.
and then move into your life.
Yeah.
And it changes a person's, obviously, as you know, the perspective changes, perception
Mhm.
changes, and then obviously one's experience to life change.
Yeah.
So listen, this has been great.
So
This is
lovely.
great. Any last words? Anything come to your mind that you would say later? Oh, I wish I would have said that. I meant to say that, or anything like that. Anything you want to tell these beautiful people that are tuning into you right now?
The only thing that I would say is really, when we integrate psychology and spirituality, that which comes to the awareness starts to find meaning.
Mm,
Spirituality gives meaning to our life experiences, which then help us feel more grounded and safe in the present moment. So to
hmm.
not be afraid to dabble into both and to allow yourself to get to know your mind better, to get to know your body better, and to integrate that being part of something greater into the message, into the experience, and to allow yourself to have that expansive experience of life. Because as you beautifully say, our experience of life is based on our thoughts, opinions, beliefs, and perceptions. So allow
Look
yourself
who's
to
been
expand
listening.
that. Yes. I quote you at all my seminars.
That's thank you for that. I see some of the young people quoting me, but they don't say where they got the quote from. They look brilliant too saying it.
No, you
Tell
deserve the recognition.
the folks your full name, where they can find you.
So I'm on all platforms, Minutes on Growth. So Minutes ON Growth on social media. I love to create content, my podcast, my website. It's all Minutes on Growth. And
Minutes
I'm
on Growth.
Tannaz. Yeah. And I'm Tannaz Hosseinpour, but I go by Minutes on Growth everywhere.
Okay. Minutes on Growth. Listen, tune into her. You can feel her inner calm. You can feel the vibrational substance of an individual that's true to their soul. So Minutes on Growth is for you. Hey,
Thank
thank
you.
you so much for being with me today.
Thank you for
Appreciate your
having me.
presence. Appreciate your presence. We'll see you later. Peace and richest blessings. Peace and dynamic blessings. Many of you have written letters about how much you really appreciate the Take Back Your Mind podcast and the life questions. So appreciate those letters. Now, our particular program here, these episodes, it's powered by spiritual purpose, but it also has powerful sponsorship. The primary sponsor is Agape International Spiritual Center. So everything that goes on here, Agape is behind it. So what I want you to do, I want you to support the Take Back Your Mind podcast. Go to agapelive.com, make a donation, put a little indication that you're supporting the podcast in that donation, or text the word give to 424-321-6243. Write the word podcast so we know you're supporting this wonderful program of Take Back Your Mind. The secondary sponsor is Neutralize. This is the company that actually produces my particular supplemental line called AdaptoZen. I have the super greens. I have the Elevate fermented mushrooms and a number of other products that are emerging. Just go to Neutralize.com. Find Adaptogen, and you know what? Uplift your spirit. Uplift your body. Remember to share all of this with your friends and support our wonderful sponsor. Have a beautiful day. Here we are again, meaning every single episode of Take Back Your Mind carries the frequency of meditation, the learning to govern our perception, govern our attention, to ultimately have a deep relationship with reality, the presence of God, presence of love, presence of beauty. I've taught over the years that so many people don't have an experience with reality. They don't realize it. They're only having an experience with their thoughts about reality and experiencing them over and over and over again. Meditation is kind of a human interruptus. You're interrupting your human perception with intention, which creates about an integral relationship with the source of all creation. You're coming back to yourself. You're waking up to who and what you really are, and realize often you've been in the sauce of all manner of thoughts and opinions and points of view and perceptions that are moving through the world of appearances. And oftentimes people get snagged by these thoughts. They develop opinions about those thoughts, or in some cases, people don't even have their own opinion. They allow opinion makers to shape their opinion. I mean, I know an individual who can't even have an opinion about sports until he hears Stephen A. Smith, even though he watched the game himself. He wants to wait to see what Stephen has to say before he forms an opinion. And I'm using that obviously in jest and in light about something, but people do that a lot about so many things. They'll wait for their particular news channel to say the opinion, and then they'll have that opinion. That's called sleepwalking. Sleepwalking. You don't want anyone else to govern your perception or your opinion. You want to have a relationship with your soul, relationship with your higher self. And then you'll be taught by your spiritual nature. Then you'll see life differently, not through the eyes of a newscaster, but through the spiritual eyes that have awakened through your practice of meditation, high intention setting, affirmative prayer, life visioning, sacred service. These are all pathways to wake up to the divine. Let's turn within this moment. Put a smile on your face. Doesn't have to be a grin, just a slight smile. This body temple is so magnificently designed that if you just smile, your body temple begins to release magnificent, tonic chemicals from your inner biological pharmacy that balances your immune system, slows down your aging process, and allows for your body temple to function more perfectly. Just a smile. Put a little smile on your face. Now we're going to take 3 breaths. I'm going to invite you to breathe in, and I'll count to the count of 6. Then we're going to breathe out to the count of 8. Your surface mind may be saying, wait a minute, I'm breathing out more than I'm counting in. Rely on the genius of the body. You can do it. And as you may have heard, this is a way of resetting or activating our vagus nerve, which allows us to move more into the parasympathetic system and come out of the fight or flight reactive mode. I'm only doing 6-8. Sometimes we do 4-8, but many of you may be newbies, so we're only going to do 6-8. Put the smile on your face. Establish an intention to wake up to your glorious nature. Breathe in through the nose. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Breathe out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Breathe in to count of 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Once again, in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Your vagus nerve is becoming more activated. Fight and flight is dissolving. You're sitting with a slight smile, which is activating thyroid chemicals. And there's much more peace here emanating from you. Much more love, beauty, intelligence. You are radioactive with success. Your bioenergetic field, known as your aura, is glowing. Sit in the silence for a moment and let your breath be the breath, meaning don't do anything to alter it. Let the body breathe as it will. Take a nice inhalation. Feel a deep sense of gratitude. Sustain the breath. Release. We give thanks for these precious moments of coherence, oneness with the presence, and we stand in gratitude. And so it is. Amen. As you open your eyes, just feel that relaxation that has become a normal part of you at this moment. Your nervous system is acclimating itself around it. Practice something every single day. Continue to tune in to take back your mind. Continue to tune in to the Agape International Spiritual Center, the main sponsor of the Take Back Your Mind podcast. And give thanks on a regular basis. Peace and blessings. Your time is very valuable, so I want to thank you for tuning in to Take Back Your Mind. If you want to submit a life question, please do so. Email us at podcast@michaelbeckwith.com, and perhaps one day I'll be answering your question that will touch the lives of so many. If you've enjoyed the show, you might as well submit a 5-star review. You might as well tell your friends and family. Let's spread the love. Until we meet again, maintain your awareness. Take back your mind. Because when you take back your mind, you take back your life. Peace and blessings.
Come still and listen.